So today we are going to continue from where we stopped, and today will be lesson 43 that says attach a React UI. In the previous class, we actually did Angular UI and we were able to fetch data and created a UI to display the countries using Angular. But now we are going to do the exact same thing for React, and we are going to fetch data using React. But first, let's build a React app, and this is going to be easy. There is a kind of part of the step by step that says how to make get, post, put, and delete requests. But today we are going to just build the app and then fetch data from the API. And now the API which we created in the last two lessons can be accessed by appending API to the parameters, and this is the API list of countries. So let's immediately get started right now. Again, I'm going to IntelliJ. So this is our application here. And if you are joining for the first time, please remember to subscribe. And if you have challenges, please leave me a comment. So let's create a React application. So I'm going to first cd outside this folder. And I'm going to create a React app. To create a React app, you simply say npx create React app. If I can remember, create React app and specify the name. So let's call it Fleet UI React. Okay, so let's call it Fleet UI React. Let me see if I can increase the font here. It doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to hit the enter key and it's going to start scaffolding to create this React app. Remember that before you create a React app, you need to have Node.js installed, and you should also have React installed. And the procedure is in my website. I'm going to put all the links in the description box of this video on how to do the basic setup for creating a React app. Okay, so let's give a second. Alright, so you created a React app, and to see the React app, we first have to go into the React folder. So I'm going to say cd, it's going to be React, Fleet UI React. So let me go into this folder and you simply run npm start. It's going to start up this application, and then we'll be able to see this application, the UI. Now it says you can visit this application here, and it doesn't work. Now this is a problem that you may encounter if you are using Mac, and to solve this problem, first I'm going to stop and you simply say on set host. Once you say on set host, it's going to clear this very cryptic host name it's choosing here, which I don't know where it's getting it from. And I'm going to simply say npm start, and now it's going to start on port 3000, and we'll be able to see our new React app. You can see it right here. Okay, so what we are going to do is to remove all this trash and then display get the list of countries and display it here. This is not a React class, but I'm going to teach you a little bit basics about React. So first, let's go to open our project, which is this React project we created. It should be in, let me open the same directory. So I think it should be in solutions, and it should be Fleet UI React, and I'm simply going to open it. Yeah, so I'm going to stop this one, terminate, and I've opened it, and this is it. So this is the Fleet UI React. Now let me look at the directory structure. You can see all this stuff right here. Now what we have in this UI, this page right here, I'm going to show you exactly that page. So this is app.js, is a component, or the root component of this application is this app.js. So you can see this learn React here. It should be learn React. You can see learn React here, and you can see this edit blah 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 is also there, and you can also see the logo. So you can see edit and stuff. Okay, so let me just remove this. And once I remove it and save, it's going to reflect immediately. Okay, so I have to go to terminal in a second. Refresh. Okay, I already stopped the application from running. So let me run the application once more. So npm start site host. I don't know if this have happened again, but npm start, and let's see what we have. Yeah, so you can see only learn React now is there. Okay, so let's create another component that is going to hold the list of countries. And to create a component is very simple. Simply create a new JavaScript file. So I'm going to create JavaScript file. I'm going to call it countries.js. Okay, so you have to call it countries.js add, and that is fine. All right, so this country.js is empty. And one thing I want to mention is if you are using VS Code and you are using a React extension that gives you IntelliSense, that may be great. But we are not using VS Code here, so I don't know if there's any extension that can give me code completion. So, but we are going to write out the code and I'm going to be explaining to you. Okay, so this country is going to hold the list of countries. So for now, what I'm going to do here is to simply first come here and add this, let's see. So here I have the header, and under the header, I'm now going to add the countries component. So countries, okay. So I'm adding the countries component here, and it says this, so more actions. So I think I should import the country. So here I can now add an import statement to import the country component before I can use it as, I can embed it into the app component. Let me increase the font a little bit. So import countries, countries from countries. Yeah, so this is what you should do. Alright, so we have our countries embedded into app, but for now nothing happens. So if I save everything, nothing happens for now. So let me just save all. Okay, so what we are trying to do is that we want this countries component to contain a list of countries, and now you need to pay attention to exactly how I'm going to do it. So the first thing we want to do is we are going to, in this place, we are going to import React. And we are going to import component from React. Okay. So what I'm going to be creating now is a class component. There are two different kinds of components you can create in React: a class component and a functional component. Let's use a class component because we are going to be working with states. We are going to be fetching data from a REST API, and we are going to be displaying it. Okay, so there is a module that will help us, a library that's going to help us make GET requests, and that library is called Axios. So we are going to install this library using install Axios, save. Actually, npm install Axios, that's just save. npm install Axios. So this is what you should do, and once it installs, we are going to import it into the countries component. The countries component is simply the countries.js file, so make no mistake about it. So I'm going to say import Axios. So it's not here yet. Okay, import Axios from Axios. Okay, so I don't know why it's not showing up here. Okay, this is fine. Okay, so to create a class component, we are going to say class countries, and we are going to also add an export default countries. Why we are adding an export is so that it can be used in another component. So this is the basic setup of a component in React. So our list of countries is going to come here. All right, so now, if you remember when we did Angular UI, we have an init method, but in case of React, we are going to be using a method called component.mount. So it's called a lifecycle hook. It's called component.mount. So we are going to write the method to return the code to return a list of countries, or to make a request to the list of to the countries API in Spring. Okay, so we are also going to save the return values into a variable. So, and that variable I'm going to call it countries. So seconds. So I'm going to call the variable countries. So it's going to be this.states is equal to creating the state, and going to be countries, and it's going to be an empty list. So this, in the constructor, I'm specifying that there is going to be one variable, more or less like one. The application is going to have this variable called countries. It's going to hold a list of countries that comes from the API. So I hope you are following so far. That is fine. Now we're almost done, and what we are going to now do in component lead mount is to actually make the get request. So I'm going to say Axios.get. I think that is it. Axios.get, and I'm specifying the URL, as you can see, and I'm going to say .then, because this is an async request. So then I'm going to say the response is going to be coming. I'm going to now use an arrow function to display this response good. Okay, so this is going to be an arrow function like this. Okay. So the URL that contains the request, the results, should be this one, this URL right here. So I'm going to place it right here inside the URL. And what we are simply going to do, we're actually going to set the list of countries here. So I'm going to set this list. Or before I do that, let me just display console log what comes back. So I'm going to say console.log, and I'm going to specify response. Okay. So let's actually see if it fetches some items from the API. So I'm going to save everything, file save all, and let's go to this place, and we are going to look at the URL, the console window to see what happens here. Okay, so the above error occur, constructor cannot be invoked without new. Okay, that's fine. Second. Okay, so we are going to come here and simply props, and are going to use the super keyword here, super props. Okay. So and this is going to extend component. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to save everything, and let's go back to check the UI. Okay. So I'm actually going to stop this application and then rerun it. Okay, so in a class component, you need another method called render. So I'm going to write this render method. Actually, I wanted to just display display the return values list in the console, but this render method is mandatory. So we simply add the render method, and the render method is going to simply you have to specify what is going to be rendered in the browser. So I'm going to just return a div tag, okay. So let's just leave it in this way. So let's save everything, and let's go back to the UI, and okay. So everything still works. So now let's take a look at what we have here. So if you look at the console now, you can see data array status 200, and now you can see the data. It actually fetches the data right here, as you can see. Okay. So we've succeeded in fetching data using React, and this data is actually coming from this API. So this is the exact same data we have from the REST API Spring Boot. Now we have it available in React UI. So the next class, because I'm going to stop here because I don't want this video to be too long, we are now going to use this information and display it in a React web page right here. So I'm going to be stopping here, and the procedure for get is in my website right here, and other React tutorials is also available in the description box. I'm going to put all the links as well as the complete application, the link to the complete application in the description box of this video. If you have challenges following, please remember to leave me a comment. And in the next part, we are now going to do a bit of HTML, and then we move on to the next part. So this is what is left. We are making much progress. I'd like to thank you for being there. I'd like to remind you to subscribe to my channel, and we see in the next part. Remember, I'm Kindson the Tech Pro, and I'm always there for you.